Praise be the name of Jesus. Dear friends, our choice for Jesus and His values demands deep faith and genuine love. The famous psychiatrist Viktor Frankl spent 3 years in the concentration camps during World War II. As a doctor, he spent a lot of his time tending to the sick and dying inmates. Toward the end of the war, he and his companion devised a way of escaping from the camp. Just before the planned escape, he took a final look at the patients. The last patient he met was one who was very near to his death. Frankl tried to do his best not to tell him that they were leaving, but the patient somehow guessed that they were leaving, and in a tired and sad voice he said, "So you two are getting out and leaving us here?" Suddenly, Frankl felt in his conscience that he was betraying his patients. He ran out of the hut and told his friend to leave, and he stayed back. At once, the unhappy feeling of betrayal left him. He did not know what awaited him in the concentration camp. Yet he felt an inner peace which he had never experienced before. In fact, he survived the camps. Most painful choices we have to make are often between good and the best. In other words, we are called to abandon our ideals and goals for something better. It takes bare faith, simple hope, and genuine love to do this. In the Gospel according to St. Luke chapter 5, verses 1 to 11, the people were pressing on Jesus near the lake of Galilee. Simon Peter and the others were washing their nets. After teaching the crowd from his boat, Jesus asked Simon Peter to put out into deep water. Simon Peter, who was a master of fishing, had his own reasons not to follow what Jesus had said. He knew night time was the best time for fishing, and this was morning. As an experienced fisherman, he knew tides and times, and that this was not the right time for fishing. He had worked hard all night, and that he had caught nothing. Yet he found something better in Jesus and gave an admirable response. He said, "If you say so, I will do it." Peter had seen many miracles of Jesus, but this one transformed him. At this miraculous catch of the fish, Peter fell at Jesus' knees and asked him to leave. He said, "Depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." To recognize a miracle, one should have the eyes that really see. Many people saw the miracles of Jesus, but it did not transform them. But for Peter, it was a moment he recognized his holy God and that he was a sinner. He truly was a man of deep faith and a man of genuine love. In Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 onwards, the prophet encounters the Lord who calls him. Before the holiness of God, he finds himself unholy and unclean. He said, "For I am a man of unclean lips, living among a people of unclean lips, yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." The Lord touches his mouth and asks him, "Whom shall I send?" And he answers, "Here I am, send me." The awareness of the holiness of God and the inadequacies of the disciple is an important prerequisite in answering God's call. In the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verses 9 and 10, Paul said, "I am the least of the apostles, not fit to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. By the grace of God, I am what I am." Every Christian, by virtue of baptism, has a special call from God to carry out a specific mission. His criteria seem to be his trust that you can do it because he provides whatever is lacking. When we examine the lives of Isaiah, Paul, and Peter in relation to their response to God's call, something very remarkable comes to light, namely the feeling of personal unworthiness and a willingness to answer the call. This is what qualifies a person to answer God's call. God chooses what is weak to shame the strong. He does not call the qualified, but qualifies the called. Let us empty ourselves of our pride, and with deep faith and genuine love, fill our hearts with the holiness of God. With the psalmist, let us proclaim, "In the sight of the angels, I will sing your praise, O Lord."